Welcome back, and today we'll continue our talk about risk and return. So before we start, let's go ahead and review some basics. What finance is about? Finance is about P0, right? It's always about P0, and P0 is what? So P0 is what? P0 is D, right? And D of what? D of future benefits, right? And the D operation boils down to a couple of elements, right? Time, T, and what? And R, right? R is what? R is return. And the golden intuition is that high risk, high return, right? So how we think of R? We think of R in terms of risk. We think of R in terms of what? In terms of risk. So R is always going to be a function of risk. It's always going to be what? A function of risk. Okay? So again, what finance is about? It's about P0. P0 is D. D is about a couple of elements, T and R. R is always going to be a function of risk. The golden intuition is high risk, high return, right? The golden intuition is high risk, high return, right? In order to invest in a risky asset, in order to invest in a risky opportunity, you have to be promised higher return. So it's a very intuitive statement. All right. So in particular, we think of R in terms of the risk-free rate, right? And the risk-free return plus what? Plus the risk premium, which is about the quantity of risk times the market price of risk. The quantity of risk is beta, and the market price of risk is RPM, which is nothing but the market risk premium. So this is how we think of R in particular terms in finance. This is how we think of R. So R is the risk-free return plus the quantity of risk involved. R for any asset, the return promised by any asset is going to be the risk-free return, is going to be the return promised by the risk-free asset plus the risk premium. The risk premium underlying the risky asset we're analyzing. And the risk premium is nothing but the quantity of risk times the market price of risk. The quantity of risk is what we refer to as beta. The market price of risk is the market risk premium, RPM. Is the market risk premium, RPM. Okay, so before I continue, let's go ahead and study this case. It's going to be a hypothetical case, but it's going to be driving lots of points home. So let's see. My case is going to be about a couple of investors. It's going to be about a couple of investors, Majid and Khalid, for example. Okay. So my case is about a couple of investors, Majid and Khalid. Each is endowed with $10,000. Okay. So both Majid and Khalid have the same endowment. Both Majid and Khalid have the same $10,000 to invest. Okay? So both Majid and Khalid have the same $10,000 to invest. Okay? So Majid is going to be investing all that money at Microsoft. Okay? So Majid is going to be investing all the $10,000, the entire amount, the entire $10,000 down Microsoft. But Khalid is going to be investing half of it, is going to be investing $5,000 at Microsoft and the other $5,000 at McDonald's, for example. Okay? So again, we have a couple of investors, Majid and Khalid. Each is endowed with $10,000. Each has $10,000 to invest, right? Majid is going to be investing everything at Microsoft, whereas Khalid is going to be investing half of what he has at Microsoft and the other half at McDonald's. Now let's consider that possibility. What if something like truly bad takes place with the high-tech industry. Again, my question, what if something like truly bad takes place with the high-tech industry? How much money Majid is going to be losing? Majid is going to be losing the $10,000, right? Because he invested everything at Microsoft. But how much Khalid is going to be losing? Khalid is going to be losing $5,000. Why? Because he invested only half of what he has, because he invested only this much at McDonald's. But the other $5,000 were invested out. I'm sorry, he invested like half of what he has at Microsoft. He invested the $5,000 at Microsoft, and the other $5,000 were invested at McDonald's. So again, the case again, Majid and Khalid, both are investors with the same endowment. Both are investors with the same $10,000 to invest. Majid is going to be investing everything at McDonald's, at Microsoft, whereas Khalid is going to be investing $5,000 at Microsoft and the other $5,000 at McDonald's. And if something bad happens with the high-tech industry, Majid is going to be losing everything. Majid is going to be losing 100% of his investment, but Khalid is going to be losing only 50% of his investments, right? You see what I'm driving at? So let me rephrase my question here. The risk Majid is going to be eventually answering to, is it going to be larger or lower than the risk Khalid is going to be answering to? Majid is going to be eventually answering to a larger risk. You got it? Majid is going to be eventually answering to what? To a larger risk. Because he invested everything at one place. You got it? You got it? He placed all his wealth. He placed all his wealth at the very same opportunity, right? But Khalid was somehow diversified. You got it? Khalid was somehow what? Was somehow diversified. He invested some of it, he invested half of it at Microsoft and the other half of it at McDonald's. He invested half of what he had at the high-tech industry, and the other half were invested at the food and beverage industry. You got it? So as opposed to Majid, Khalid is in effect answering to what? Is going to be answering to a lower risk, right? And as opposed to Khalid, Majid is going to be answering to what? Majid is going to be answering to larger risk, right? So let's go ahead and put some music to this case. Let's go ahead and put some music to these words. So here, again, we have Majid, right? And Khalid, right? Majid and Khalid, right? Majid is going to be investing everything at Microsoft, whereas Khalid is going to be investing half of what he has, half of his endowment at Microsoft, and the other half is going to be invested at McDonald's. You got it? So, and therefore, if something bad happens with the high-tech industry, if something bad happens with Microsoft, Majid is going to be eventually losing everything, whereas Khalid is going to be eventually losing what? Losing half of what he had, half of what he had. So the risk factor, the risk that Majid is going to be facing, right, is going to be larger. It's going to be what? It's going to be larger. So risk for Majid, right? The risk for J here is Majid, is going to be larger than what? Than the risk for K. Right? Majid's investment risk is going to be larger than Khalid's investments risk because as opposed to Majid, Khalid is diversified between the two opportunities, right? And as opposed to Khalid, Majid is placing everything at the very same basket. You got it? He's investing everything at Microsoft, and therefore, when something bad happens with Microsoft, Majid is going to be losing everything, but Khalid is going to be losing what? Is going to be losing only 1/2. Is going to be losing what? Only 1/2. So in effect, so in other words, the risk Majid is going to be answering to is going to be eventually larger than the risk Khalid is going to be answering to. If this is so, what can we say about the return? What can we say about the return? What can we possibly say about the return demanded by Majid, or the return required by Majid? Okay, if Majid is answering to more risk, so he's going to be demanding what? He's going to be demanding more return, because the golden tuition is high risk, high return. You see what I'm driving at? If Majid is going to be answering to more risk, he's going to be after what? He's going to be after more return. He's going to be after what? More return, right? And this is very intuitive, right? So the return required by Majid, which is RJ, which is what? Which is RJ, is going to be eventually what? Is going to be eventually larger than the return required by what? By Khalid. Okay? So the return required by Majid is going to be eventually larger than the return required by Khalid. And why this is so? Because the risk Majid is answering to is in actual fact larger than that of Khalid, right? Than that applies to Khalid, right? You see that? So just because Majid's risk is higher than Khalid's risk, right? Majid's required return is going to be also what? Is going to also be higher. It's going to be also what? Higher. So what can we say about P0? Now we have a statement about R. Now we have a statement about risk, right? And how can we possibly think of a statement in terms of P0? How can we possibly think of a statement in terms of P0? Oh, this is easy. So this is easy. So we know from finance, we know the first lesson in finance is that return and P0, they move in opposites, right? Right? We know that very well, right? As the return goes up, P0 goes down. And as the return goes down, P0 what? P0 goes up, right? We know that very well. Why? Because P0 is what? P0 is what? P0 is what? P0 is nothing but Fn, right? Times 1 plus R to the power of negative n, right? And therefore 1 plus R is raised to a negative power, and therefore the relationship between P0 and R is what? Is negative. The relationship between P0 and R is what? Is negative, right? As one goes up, the other goes down. So as R goes up, P0 what? P0 goes down, and vice versa, right? So this is our statement about risk. And Majid's risk is going to be larger than Khalid's risk. And here comes our statement about return. And again, Majid's return is going to be larger than Khalid's return, right? The required rate of return by Majid is going to be larger than the required rate of return by Khalid. And who's going to be offering us a higher price, Khalid or Majid? Higher price. So P0 is going to be larger where? So P0J, right? P0J is going to be what? It's going to be lower, right? It's going to be lower than P0K. It's going to be lower than what? Than P0K. It's going to be lower than what? Than P0K. You got it? See what I'm driving at? So Majid's risk is higher. Majid's required return is higher, right? And the price offered by Majid is going to be what? Is going to be lower than that offered by Khalid. Than that what? Than that offered by Khalid. Let me go back to the case and continue with it. What if Alauddin is an investment opportunity? Aladdin is an investment opportunity. He's like an asset that both Majid and Khalid are competing for. Okay? So again, the case from the start. Majid and Khalid are two investors with the same endowment. Right? Majid is non-diversified. Khalid is diversified. You got it? You got it? And now we have Aladdin, and Aladdin is an investment opportunity, is an asset that both Majid and Khalid are competing for. My question now, Aladdin is going to be going where? Aladdin, is it going to be going to Khalid or to Majid? Aladdin is going to be going where? This is my question. Let me make it simpler for you. Let me make it simpler for you. I want to sell this marker. I want to sell off this marker, right? So I'm offering this marker in the market, right? I'm offering this marker in the market, right? Majid is offering me $10, but Khalid is offering me $15. The market is going to be the marker is going to be going where? The marker is going to be going where the higher price is. You got it? So the marker is going to be going to what? To the higher price. The marker is going to be going what? Where? To the higher price. And therefore Aladdin is going to be going where? Where's the higher price? The higher price is promised by Khalid. And therefore Aladdin, the investment opportunity, is going to be eventually landing down what? Landing on Khalid. Is going to be eventually landing on Khalid. Why? Because Khalid is going to be paying more for it. Khalid is going to be paying more for it. You got it? I have this marker. I want to sell it. Majid is offering me $10, but Khalid is offering me $15. This marker is going to be going where? It's going to be going to Khalid, right? Likewise, any investment opportunity is going to be going where? Is it going to be going to the diversified investor or to the non-diversified investor? And the answer is that investment opportunities eventually end up with the hands of diversified investors. You got it? So the lesson here, the important lesson here, is that all assets, is that what? All assets eventually end up in the very hands of diversified investors. Why? Because diversified investors, as opposed to non-diversified investors, can pay nicer for those assets. Can pay what? Can pay nicer for those assets. Offer higher prices for those assets. And therefore, those assets are going to be eventually ending up in the very hands of diversified investors. Okay? Again. The lesson again, based on the case. The lesson again, based on the case. The conclusion is that investment opportunities, i.e. assets, are going to be eventually going where? Are going to be eventually going to diversified investors. Are going to be eventually ending up in the hands of diversified investors. Why? Because diversified investors offer higher prices. Because what? Because what? Diversified investors, what? They offer higher prices. They offer what? They offer higher prices. So again, let me repeat the case again. Majid and Khalid, right? They both are investors. They both have the same endowment. They both have $10,000 to invest, right? Majid is going to be investing everything at Microsoft, at one place. But Khalid is going to be investing half of it at Microsoft and the other half at McDonald's. He's going to be diversifying between a couple of places, right? And if something bad were to happen with the high-tech industry, Majid is going to be losing 100% of his investments, whereas Khalid is going to be losing 50% of his investments. And the conclusion is that the risk, the amount of risk Majid is going to be answering to, the amount of risk Majid will have to deal with is going to be larger than the amount of risk Khalid will have to deal with. And just because of that, Majid is going to be after a return larger than that required by Khalid. You got it? And just because of that, the price Majid is going to be offering for any asset will be lower than that offered by Khalid. You got it? And therefore, and accordingly, all assets are going to be going to Khalid. All assets are going to be going to Khalid. Because Khalid offers a nicer price. Because Khalid offers what? A nicer price. The lesson here, the very, very important lesson in finance, is that all assets eventually go to diversified investors. All assets eventually end up in the very hands of diversified investors. You got it? Good. So this is our lesson. Let's write it down. So let's write down the lesson. So the lesson here is that all assets, right? All assets Go to what? Go to where? Go to diversified investors. Go to what? Go to diversified. Go to diversified investors. Do you go to people like Khalid as opposed to Majid? Good. So, who matters in the market? Who matters in finance? Who matters in finance?
Investor.
Any investor matters? Or only diversified investors matter? Only diversified investors matter. Who matters in finance? Only diversified investors. Why? Why? Because only diversified investors are going to be ending up paying P0. Right? P0 doesn't apply to non-diversified investors. You got it? Who matters in finance? Who matters? No, who matters? Who matters? Diversified investors. Why? Because they're going to be allocated all the assets. They're going to be what? They're going to be allocated all the assets. Right? And therefore, they're going to be the same people who are going to be paying for what? Who are going to be paying P0. So who's going to be paying P0? Is it Majid or Khalid? It's going to be Khalid. It's always going to be diversified investors. So only diversified investors matter in finance. Only diversified investors what? Matter in finance. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be getting everything. They're going to be getting all the assets. Why they're going to be getting all the assets? Because they have the nicer offer. They have what? They have the nicer offer. They have what? They have the nicer offer. So at the end of the day, who's going to be ending up paying P0? Diversified investors. Who is going to be ending up paying P0? Only diversified investors. So who matters in finance? Who matters in investments? Diversified investors, zero. Diversified investors. You got it? And therefore, our analysis from now on is going to be built upon how diversified investors see things. And in fact, our risk-return framework is going to be all about what diversified investors care about. Okay? So what diversified investors care about? Let's see. So what diversified investors care about? So diversified investors care about what? Well, risk and finance can be decomposed into a couple of components, right? So risk and finance can be decomposed into a couple of components. The first component is what we refer to as the diversifiable risk. The what? The diversifiable risk. So the first component is what we refer to as what? Is what we refer to as the diversifiable risk. The second component is what we call the non-diversifiable risk. Is what we call what? The non-diversifiable risk. And my question again, so who matters to me? Who matters to me as a financial analyst? Who matters to me as a finance professor? Who matters to us in the finance discipline? Who matters to us is diversifiable investors. Is what? I'm sorry, is diversified investors. Is what? Is diversified investors. Those are the ones who matter to us, right? And my second question, what diversified investors care for? What kind of risk? Which component of risk? Which component of risk is of a concern to diversified investors? Well, diversified investors are by definition already diversified, right? Right? And therefore, they don't care about diversifiable risk. Why? They don't care about diversifiable risk. Why? Because they are already diversified. They are already what? They are already diversified, right? right? So they don't care about something they are already, right? They are already about, right? They don't care about something they are already about, right? So they won't care about diversifiable risk. Why? Because they are already diversified. They are already what? They are already diversified. So what they care about turns out to be nothing but the non-diversifiable risk, right? So they are already diversified, right? And therefore, the kind of risk they care about is what? Is the kind of risk they cannot diversify. You see that? You see that? So again, who matters in finance? Diversified investors. Which component of risk? Which component of risk matters to them? The non-diversifiable. The non-diversifiable. Why the diversifiable risk doesn't matter to them? Because they are already diversified. They are already what? They are already diversified, right? So they're going to be concerned about that kind of risk, which cannot be diversified. Which cannot be what? Which cannot be diversified. Hence what? Hence non-diversifiable. Hence what? Hence non-diversifiable. Okay? The amount or the quantity of non-diversifiable risk is what we refer to as beta. Is what we refer to as what? Is what we refer to as beta. The amount of non-diversifiable risk. The amount of non-diversifiable risk is what we refer to as what? Is what we refer to as beta, right? And no wonder, if you go back here, no wonder here, beta is the only kind of risk that matters for R. You got it? So here we don't have risk per se. We only have beta, which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable risk. So only the non-diversifiable risk matters for R. Why? Because only diversified investors matter for us, and diversified investors care about nothing but beta, which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable risk. Which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable risk. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. We talked about this. We talked about this equation last time, so I'm not going to be going there again, right? So today's lesson is about why beta is here, right? Why beta is here, and in particular, why only beta is here. Because in this equation, everything is a return. Everything is what? Return. Everything is a return, except for what? Except for beta. What is beta? It is non-diversifiable risk. It is what? It is non-diversifiable risk. But R is a return, RF is a return, and RPM is also a return, right? Right? So the only thing that is not a return here is what? Is beta, which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable risk. So what matters for R at the end of the day? Beta. And what is beta? The non-diversifiable risk. Why the non-diversifiable risk is what matters? Because only diversified investors matter. And why diversified investors matter? Because they're going to be offering higher prices for the assets. They're going to be eventually getting all the assets. Right? Right? And now, what diversified investors care about? They care about nothing but beta. Right? They don't care about the kind of risk they can diversify, because they are already diversified. They are already what? They are already diversified. So what they care about is the amount of risk which cannot be diversified, which we refer to as what? Which we refer to as beta. Which we refer to as what? Which we refer to as what? Beta. Let me give an example. Suppose that Microsoft and suppose we're talking about the Microsoft subsidiary in Saudi Arabia and the McDonald's subsidiary in Saudi Arabia, right? So we're talking about a couple of Saudi firms, right? So Khalid can bring down the risk associated with Microsoft, right? Can bring down the 100% associated with investing in Microsoft here by diversifying into the food and beverage industry, right? And investing some of his money at McDonald's, right? So this much risk can be diversified, right? So this much risk, which is the Microsoft risk, can be diversified off by investing at McDonald's, right? Right? But the risk that this country might go to a war against the Houthis cannot be diversified off. You got it? This is the kind of risk which cannot be diversified off, no matter how much you diversify. You got it? No matter how much you diversify, no matter how much you diversify, right? No matter how much you diversify, you cannot diversify off that possibility as an investor. It goes beyond investments. You got it? It goes beyond what? It goes beyond investments, right? And therefore, the risk that is diversifiable is by definition firm specific. Is by definition what? Is by definition what? Is by definition firm specific. But the risk that is non-diversifiable, a risk that cannot be diversified, is by definition economy-wide. Is by definition what? Is by definition what? Economy-wide. So what is diversifiable risk? What is diversifiable risk? This is what? This is firm specific. This is what? This is firm. This is firm specific, right? Right? What is a non-diversifiable risk? What is beta? This is economy-wide. This is what? This is economy-wide. The economy-wide risk cannot be diversified off, cannot be taken down, no matter how much you diversify. You got it? So the economy-wide risk, the economy-wide, we also call it systematic. We also call it what? We also call it systematic risk. We also call it systematic risk. Is a kind of risk that cannot be taken down no matter how much we diversify. You got it? No matter how much you diversify between firms in Saudi Arabia, you cannot take down the possibility that Houthis are a threat to the Saudi Arabians. You got it? You cannot take down that kind of risk no matter how much you diversify among firms, right? Right? But when you diversify, right, you can at best take down the risk associated with investing everything that you have at McDonald's or at Microsoft. You got it? So you can diversify off what is firm specific, right? But you can never diversify off what is economy-wide or what is systematic. You got it? My question again, what kind of risk, which component of risk do diversified investors care about? Is it going to be the firm-specific risk or the economy-wide risk? They care about the economy-wide risk because they are already diversified among firms. You got it? They are already diversified among firms. They are already Khalid, not Majid. You got it? They are already what? They are already Khalid, not Majid. Yeah, they are already Khalid, not Majid, right? They are already Khalid. They are already diversified among firms, among all possibilities, right? And therefore, what they care about is the kind of risk that cannot be diversified off, right? That cannot be taken down no matter how much you diversify. And that kind of risk, that quantity of risk is what we refer to as what? Is what we refer to as beta. And this is in particular why only beta matters for R. You got it? This is why only beta matters for R. This is one of the most important lessons of finance. And I hope you're getting it. I hope you're getting the intuition behind it. So again, why beta matters for finance? Matters for R because beta is about the non-diversifiable risk. Why the non-diversifiable risk is what matters? It is because this is the kind of risk that diversified investors care about. Why do we have to worry about diversified investors? Because they're going to be ending up with all the assets. Why they're going to be ending up with all the assets? Because they're going to be offering what? They're going to be offering higher for those assets, and therefore they're going to be getting them. They're going to be what? They're going to be getting them, right? So at the end of the day, beta is what matters. And why beta is what matters? Because only diversified investors matter, and diversified investors care about nothing but beta. Care about nothing but what? But beta. They don't care about the firm-specific risk, right? They care only about the economy-wide, non-diversifiable, systematic risk. By the way, we also refer to the firm-specific risk as idiosyncratic. We'll learn that term. We also refer to the firm-specific risk as idiosyncratic. It's a nice term. And idiosyncratic is nothing but an elegant way in finance to say firm-specific, okay? So idiosyncratic is just an elegant way in finance to say firm-specific. So if you want to get yourself like a fine finance job, when you show up for an interview, just tell them idiosyncratic, and most likely you're going to be getting the job you're after. It's elegant. It's an elegant way to say firm specific. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. So my case again. Why diversified investors matter? Why diversified investors matter? Why diversified investors are what matters? Why diversified investors are what matters? Because the risk, their investments risk is going to be less, right? And because their investments risk is going to be less, the required rate of return is also going to be less. And because the required rate of return is going to be less, right? Their offered price is going to be more. Their offered price is going to be what? Is going to be more. The conclusion is that all assets are going to be eventually ending up in their very hands. You got it? So the conclusion is that all assets are going to be eventually ending up what? In their hands, right? In their very hands, right? Now we know that our analysis has to answer to diversified investors, right? And we proceed the analysis by asking another question. What diversified investors care about? And they don't care about the asset. They don't care about the diversifiable risk. Why? Because they are already diversified, right? Right? What they care about is something they can't. You got it? It's something they don't, right? And what they can't take down, no matter how much they diversify, what they cannot take down, no matter how much they diversify, is what we refer to as the economy-wide systematic, or simply the non-diversifiable risk. In symbols, that is what? That is beta. And again, this is why beta is here. This is why beta is here. We don't have total risk, right? We just have what? We just have the non-diversifiable component of it. You got it? So here is total risk. Here is what? Here is total risk. Here is total risk. Here is all the risk, right? Here is all the risk. Do we worry about all the risk? Do we have all the risk here? No, we don't have all the risk here. What we have here is beta, which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable component. Which is what? Which is the non-diversifiable component. And therefore, the diversifiable component doesn't matter in finance. Got it? The diversifiable component doesn't matter in finance because it doesn't matter for R. And because it doesn't matter for R, it doesn't matter for D. And because it doesn't matter for D, it doesn't matter for P0. And because it doesn't matter for P0, it doesn't matter for finance. I hope this is clear. You got it? So what finance is all about? P0. P0 is what? D. D is what? Times time. But R, right? What's R? That's return. Return is about what? Is about beta. What's beta? The non-diversifiable risk quantity. The non-diversifiable risk quantity. Why the non-diversifiable risk quantity? Why? Because diversified investors care only about it. Because diversified investors only care about it. Why diversified investors only care about it? Because they are already diversified, right? They are already what? They are already diversified, right? And therefore they don't care about something they are already about, right? Right? They are already diversified, and therefore they don't care about what is diversifiable. They're already there. You got it? They're already there. And why diversified? Why our talk is about diversified investors? Because diversified investors is what matters to us in finance. Why diversified investors are what matters to us in finance? Because their investment risk is lower, right? And accordingly, the required rate of return is also going to be lower, and accordingly, their offered price is going to be higher. And by definition, all the assets are going to be eventually ending up in their very hands, right? So the theory of finance is about diversified investors. And what diversified investors care about? They care about beta. This is why beta is here, right? This is why what? Beta is here, right? So the lesson, the important lesson, only the non-diversifiable risk matters for finance. The diversifiable risk doesn't. Why? because the diversifiable risk doesn't matter for diversified investors, and therefore it doesn't matter for R, right? And if it doesn't matter for R, it doesn't matter for D, and if it doesn't matter for D, it doesn't matter for P0, and if it doesn't matter for P0, it doesn't matter for finance, period. I hope this is clear. You got it? This is an important lesson. It's a deep lesson. I hope you got it. I hope you got it. If you have concerns or issues, I'm sure when you go home and start reading the chapter and reflect upon this lecture, you're going to be feeling far, far better. You're going to be feeling far, far better. Any questions today? Any questions? All right, so let me continue. Let me continue with an exercise here. So, problem 6. Let's go ahead and do it. Problem 6, page 123. Problem 6, page 123. No, sorry. Thank you. Problem 6, page 123. So 123, Bahamdeen. If you miss today, you miss a lot in finance. So, problem 6, 123. What are we looking for? How many R's we have to compute? We have to compute 4 R's, right? Yeah. We have to compute what? 4 R's. The first R is going to be what? Stillman's. It's going to be Stillman's. So RS, right? So we're going to be doing RS, right? So RS is going to be how much? 17. R in general is how much? R is what? R is what? R is RF, right? Plus beta times RPM, right? And RPM is what? RPM is what? It's RM minus RF, right? We know that, right? What's RPM? It's RM minus RF. Abdullah, Mansoor, what's RPM from last week? It's RM minus RF, right? RPM minus RF. Good. Well, let's apply and do RS. So RS is going to be how much? 17. How much is RF? How much is RF? 15%. How much is RF? The risk-free rate is how much? It's 10%. The risk-free rate is 10%. You got it? The risk-free rate is what? Is 10%, right? The risk-free rate is 10%. So RF is what? It's 10, right? Right? It's 10%. Plus beta. Beta for the asset is how much? Beta for S. Beta. The beta here, expected beta is how much? Is 1.3, right? Is what? Is 1.3. RPM is how much? RPM is RM. What's RM? It's the return on the market portfolio. What's RM? It's the return on the market portfolio, right? So it's going to be what? The return on the market portfolio is how much? 15%, is it? It's going to be 15%. So RPM is RM minus RF, which is going to be 15%, right? Right? Minus what? Minus the 10%. And the answer is going to be how much? 5 times 1.3. This is what? This is 5 times plus 1.5, which is 6.5. And the answer is going to be 16.5%, right? 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 This is correct? Right? This is correct, right? So what about the second asset? If you don't get it from the first asset, go ahead and learn it from the second asset. The second asset is what? It's Union Paint, RU. So what are we going to be solving for? RU, right? What are we going to be solving for? RU. So RU is what? RU is what? Again, it's RF plus beta times RPM, right? RF is how much? 10%. It's going to be 10%. Only beta is going to be different, right? Yeah. Only beta is going to be different. So beta is going to be how much? 0.8. 0.8 times what? 15% minus 10%, which is what? Which is 5%, right? Right? So here we're going to be having what, 5%. And the answer is going to be 4 plus 10%, which is what? 14%, right? Right? So you know why this is 5%? Because it's 15 minus 10, right? We did it last time, Khalid, right? We did it. Yes. Wake up, Khalid. Study hard in college. So what about the third asset? Abdullah, what about the third asset? Guys, they're not studying hard, Yazid. I'm very disappointed.
It will be Rn.
So what I'm going to be solving for, Mansoor, is going to be what,
Rn.
It's going to be Rn, right?
Equal 10%.
And equals what? Bravo, Mansoor. 10%.
Plus 1.1.
Plus 1.1, bravo, times?
Times 5%.
Thank you so much. Good. So it's going to be 5.5 plus 10%, which is going to be what? Which is going to be 15.5, right? Percent. Right? This is correct? Huh? What about the fourth asset?
RP.
What about the fourth asset? What is it?
RP.
RP. Good. So let's call it RE, no problem. Electronic, right? So the electronic asset, so it's going to be RE, right? RE is what?
10% plus.
10% plus 1.7 times 5%. Why this is 5%? Why?
15
because 15 minus 10, which is 5. 5 times 1.7. So 5 times 1.7, so it's going to be 8.5 plus 10, it's going to be 18.5%. Right? 18.5%. Right? Right? Okay, so what did I just do now? I did what? I did the required rate of returns. I did what? I did what? I did the required rate of returns. What did I do? The required rate of returns. What did I do? The required rate of returns. What did I do? The required rate of returns. The required rate of returns. All right, let's continue with the problem. So, in addition to those, you have the expected returns. You expected what? You have the expected returns, right? So how many assets? We have 4 assets, right? We have what? 4 assets. S, Y, N, and E, right? Now we computed the required rate of returns for those assets, right? We computed the required rates of return for those assets. And we have to contrast those to the expected returns and learn a very important lesson in finance. Well, let's go ahead and continue. So how many assets? 4. We have S, right? U, N, and E. Good. And the required return was how much? The required return we just computed?
10.
The required return we just computed for S was how much?
16.5.
For S was 16.5. Right?
14.
And for U it was 14%. For N 15.5. For E 18.5. Right? Right? But the expected returns were given as what? The expected returns were given as what? For S, the expected return was given as how much? Was given as 17%. Was given as what? As 17%. The expected return for U was how much?
14.5.
What?
14.5.
14.5. The expected return for N was how much?
15.5.
And the expected return for E was how much? 18%, right? Good. Now, if you for the first asset, when you require 16.5, but you expect to make 17, right? You require 16.5, but you expect to return 17. This is a good investment or a bad investment?
Bad.
Well, think about it. This is a good investment or a bad investment? It's a very good investment. It's a good investment. Why? Why is it a good investment? Why is it a good investment? Because you require less than what you expect. You require what? You require less than what you expect. You require less than what you expect. And therefore, this is a good opportunity. This is a good investment opportunity. In general, what's a good investment opportunity? What's a good asset to invest at? A good asset to invest at is going to always be underpriced. You got it? So what's a good opportunity? It's going to be an underpriced opportunity. It's going to be what? It's going to be an underpriced opportunity, right? Now I'm telling you that S is a good asset. I'm telling you that S is a good opportunity. Why S is underpriced? Why S is underpriced? Why? Well, if you remember, what's P0? Let's imagine you're gonna be staying in S for only 1 year, okay? You're gonna be staying in S for what? For only 1 year, right? So you're now, right? You're what? You're now, and you're gonna be investing in S for only what? For only 1 year. So you're paying P0 for S now, and in a year from now, you're gonna be getting what? You're gonna be getting what? You're gonna be getting P1. You're gonna be getting what? You're gonna be getting P1, right? You're gonna be getting what? You're gonna be getting P1, right? So the expected return is gonna be how much? The expected return is gonna be how much? The expected return, if you're gonna be staying for one period, if you're gonna be staying for a year, for 1 year, the expected return is gonna be the expected value of P1, right? 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 Which we don't know because we're not there yet. We're now, right? Minus what? Minus P0 over P0. Over what? P0. Let me give you the intuition here. I explained it before. I explained it before many times. But let me give you the intuition again. If you invest, if you buy S now for $10, and you sell it a year from now for $12, so your return is how much? Your return is what? Your return is 20%. Your return is what? Is 20%, which is what? Which is 2 over 10. Which is 2 over what? Over 10. Which is what? Which is 2 over 10. Again, what I'm telling you is that you're paying 10 now, but you're going to be getting 12 a year from now, right? So 12 equals 10 times how much? Equals 10 times 1 plus R, right? 1 plus what, 1 plus R, and therefore 1 plus R is going to be what? It's going to be 12 over 10, which is going to be what? 1.2. And so R is going to be what? And so R is going to be 20%. And so R is going to be what, And so R is going to be what, And so R is going to be 20%, right? Right? So R is going to be what? R is going to be what? R is going to be what? R is going to be how much you're going to be getting, the 12, right? Minus how much you invested, the 10, over what? Over how much you initially invested, right? Right? How much you're going to be getting, the 12, minus the 10, which is 2, over how much you invested, the 10, and therefore your return is going to be what? Is going to be 20%. Your return is going to be what? 20%. So how much is the expected return? It's going to be the expected value of P1 minus P0 over what,
P0.
Over P0. Over what, You got it? You see what I'm driving at? So the expected return is always going to be what? Okay, well, let's do it another way. Let's do it another way. Let's compound it. All right, I guess I'm fast. So let's go ahead and compound it. Let me compound. P1 equals what? This is P1, right? Right?
Yes.
This is P1, right? P1 equals what? Equals P0 times 1 plus R. 1 plus what, huh? R. And so 1 plus R is going to be what? It's going to be what?
P0.
It's going to be P1 minus P0. And so R is going to be what? And so R is going to be what? It's going to be P1, right? Over P0 minus 1, which is P1 over P0 minus P0 over P0, which is P1 minus P0 over P0. Right? This is not the first time you see it. Right? Right? This is not the first time you see it, right? Right? Good. So let me continue. Now we agree on the fact that the expected value of return is going to be the expected value of P1, which we don't know yet because we're here. We're now P0 minus P0 over P0. Let's go ahead and solve for P0. So if we were to solve for P0, what should I do? P0 is going to be what? P0 is going to be what? So let's go ahead and solve for P0. And so P0 is going to be what? So P0, this is what we have again. This is what we have again. P1, the expected value, right, of P1, right, minus
P0
over P0. And so P0 is going to be what? So we have P0 times the expected value of R, right, plus P0, right, equals what, huh? Equals the expected value of P1, right? Right? And let's go ahead and factor the P0 out. When you factor the P0 out, what we have? P0 out, let's factor it. Let's factor out the P0. So it's going to be P0 times what? Times 1 plus the expected value of R, right? Equals what? Equals the expected value of P1, right? Right? And therefore P0 is going to be what?
P0 is
Expected value of P1 over 1 plus the expected value of R, right? 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 Which is what? Which is what? I'm amazed by how fast you are. So P0 is going to be what? It's going to be the expected value of P1 times what? 1 plus the expected value of R to the power of negative 1. Which is something you know very, very well, right? 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 So as ER goes down, what becomes of P0? That's my point here. You got it. Good. So as the expected return goes down, what becomes of P0? And as the expected return goes up, what becomes of P0? So the expected return and P0 move in opposites. Move in what? Move in opposites. Let's go back here. Now the expected return is high, right? So what becomes of P0?
going down.
So P0 is underpriced. You got it? So the price is, you see that? The value is underpriced. The asset is underpriced. Why? Because the expected return is larger than the required return. And we know from here that the expected return and P0 move in what? Move in opposite directions. You got it? So, and therefore, because here it's higher, it's relatively high, and therefore the P0 is going to be what? Is going to be relatively low. And whenever something is underpriced, whenever something is relatively underpriced, it defines a very good investment opportunity. You can go ahead and get it now because the market is going to be eventually correcting itself. So you can get it now with the underpriced amount and sell it later when the market corrects itself. Hence an investment opportunity. You got it? You got it? So this asset is what? This asset is underpriced. This asset is what? And therefore, which investment opportunity is it? What kind of investment opportunity is it? A good investment opportunity. A good investment. Go for it. Why should we go for it? Because it's underpriced. Because it's what? It's underpriced. So this is good investment. This is what? This is good invest. This is what? This is a good invest. Why this is a good invest? Because the asset is underpriced. Asset is underpriced. You got it? Asset is underpriced. So as, for example, asset is selling now for $10, it should be selling for more. You got it? S is selling now for $10, it should be selling for more. Why is it a good investment opportunity? Because you can pay now the $10 for S, wait some time, and sell it back for what? For more. Because it's a fact that the market always corrects itself. The market is not going to be always underpriced, right? The market is going to be eventually self-correcting. The market has a self-correction mechanism, right? Assets, underpriced assets don't always remain so. Why? Why? Because when the asset is underpriced and people find out about it, everybody is going to be jumping in trying to get it. When people jump in trying to get the asset, right? The demand is going to be going up, but the supply is limited, and therefore the price can only what? The price can only go up. So the price is not going to be the same, right? The asset is not going to always be underpriced. Eventually the price is going to be going up because people are going to be after that asset. You see that?
Yes.
I hope this is clear.
Yes.
You got it? What about the second asset? It's an underpriced. Why? Because the expected return is also high, right? The expected return is relatively high, and therefore what? And therefore the expected return is relatively high, and therefore what? And therefore the asset is underpriced, and hence a good investment. Hence what? Hence a good investment, right? What about here?
Equal.
What about here? The asset is in equilibrium. So here we have also a good investment. Here we have what? This is a neutral opportunity. This is what? A neutral opportunity. A neutral what? A neutral opportunity. It's not good, it's not bad. It's okay. But you're not going to be losing. You got it? You're not going to be losing. Right? You're not going to be losing much. You're not going to be gaining much. You're going to be getting what's you're going to be getting what's promised.
What you expect.
Yeah, you're going to be getting what's promised. You're going to be getting what's promised. What about here?
Still bad.
The expected return is low, right? And therefore the price is what? This asset is overpriced. The expected return is relatively lower, and therefore the asset is what? The asset is overpriced, and an overpriced asset is what? It's a bad investment, right? Because if you get it now, if you pay its price for it now, you're going to be losing in the future. You got it? You got it? Yeah. The overpriced asset is always what? Is always a bad opportunity. Is always what? Is always a bad opportunity. So this is bad invest. This is what? But on an intuitive level, you can think of it here. On an intuitive level, you can think of it. The expected return here is larger than the required rate of return. You expect to return more than what you require, and therefore it's good. You got it? You expect more than what you require, and therefore it's what? Therefore it's a premium. You got it? It's what? It's a premium. Remember? Premium discount? Here, again, you expect to return more than what you require. Again, it's a premium. Here, you expect to return exactly what you require. It's face value. The asset is neutral. The asset is in equilibrium. The asset is what? Is in equilibrium. But here, you expect to return less than what you require, and therefore it's what? It's bad. It's a discount. You got it? You see what I'm driving at?
Yes.
So I guess you guys had enough for today, because I see you like... We continue.
Give us an example.
After an example,
Because
we get
when
try to
Thank you so much.